The wedding dress lay abandoned across the polished floor of the courthouse hallway, its white fabric stained by muddy footprints as two women stood frozen on opposite sides of a heartbreaking truth. One had spent years believing she was finally about to marry the love of her life. The other had spent those same years believing she had lost him forever. Neither woman knew they had been living inside the same story until the moment a frightened little girl ran through the open doors, wrapped her tiny arms around the man's legs, and cried with all the innocence in her heart that she wanted her family back. In that single breathtaking instant, carefully built dreams shattered, painful memories returned, and three lives collided in a way no one could have imagined. Before this unforgettable journey begins, if you believe kindness can heal broken hearts, forgiveness can change lives, hope can survive even the darkest storms, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. Clara Bennett had spent most of her life believing that patience always led to happiness. She had worked as a physical therapist in a quiet coastal town where every patient knew her gentle smile before they remembered her name. She never chased wealth or fame. Her greatest dream was simply to build a peaceful home filled with laughter and honesty. When she met Rowan during a charity fundraiser for injured veterans, she believed destiny had finally rewarded years of quiet sacrifices. Rowan appeared thoughtful, dependable, and compassionate. He volunteered every weekend, cared deeply for strangers, and spoke about family with sincere emotion. Their relationship grew slowly through afternoon walks, community events, and long conversations beneath bright blue skies. Clara admired how carefully he listened and how respectfully he treated everyone around him. After 3 years together, Rowan proposed during a neighborhood picnic surrounded by children flying colorful kites. Clara accepted with tears of happiness, convinced her future had finally arrived. Only a few miles away lived another woman whose life had become almost unrecognizable. Evelyn Brooks had once shared every dream with Rowan before tragedy dismantled their future piece by piece. Years earlier, they had planned a wedding, purchased a small fixer-upper house, and celebrated the coming of their first child. Then a devastating highway accident left Rowan severely injured and suffering from memory loss. Doctors warned that his recovery would be uncertain. During months of confusion and rehabilitation, misunderstandings multiplied. Rowan's relatives, believing Evelyn only complicated his fragile recovery, quietly pushed her away while she struggled through a difficult pregnancy. Letters she wrote never reached him. Phone calls were ignored. Eventually Rowan disappeared from her life without explanation, carrying no memory of the woman who still loved him. Heartbroken but determined, Evelyn focused entirely on raising their daughter, Hazel, believing that reopening old wounds would only create greater pain for everyone. Hazel became the brightest light in Evelyn's difficult world. Curious, joyful, and endlessly kind, she filled every afternoon with laughter that softened years of disappointment. Evelyn worked tirelessly as a librarian, balancing long hours with endless responsibilities, never allowing her daughter to feel deprived of love. Although life remained financially difficult, they built traditions that money could never buy. Every Saturday they visited the botanical gardens, every Sunday they baked fresh bread together, and every afternoon after school they shared stories beneath an old maple tree near their apartment. Hazel often asked about her father, and Evelyn never answered with bitterness. Instead, she explained that life sometimes separated people in painful ways, but love was never completely erased. She hoped that one day the truth would reveal itself naturally without poisoning her daughter's heart with resentment. Meanwhile, Clara enthusiastically prepared for her wedding. She visited local florists, sampled cakes, and spent sunny afternoons decorating a small farmhouse she and Rowan planned to renovate together. Friends admired the peace they seemed to share. Rowan remained deeply committed to their future, although strange moments occasionally interrupted his confidence. Certain songs stirred emotions he could not explain. Familiar places sometimes awakened brief flashes of forgotten memories before disappearing as quickly as they arrived. He dismissed these moments as lingering effects of his old accident, never imagining they represented an entire missing chapter of his life. Clara noticed his occasional sadness but believed it reflected ordinary wedding stress rather than hidden heartbreak buried beneath damaged memories. Everything changed on the courthouse steps where Rowan and Clara had gone to finalize paperwork before their wedding ceremony. At the same moment, Evelyn arrived to complete documents for Hazel's school enrollment after relocating closer to a new library position. Hazel wandered only a few feet away while admiring pigeons gathering near the entrance. Evelyn rushed forward in embarrassment, but as their eyes met, Rowan suddenly experienced a flood of forgotten memories crashing through his mind. Hospital rooms. Wedding invitations. A tiny unborn heartbeat recorded during an ultrasound appointment. Promises. Tears. Hope. Everything he had lost returned within seconds. The courthouse hallway became painfully silent as Rowan struggled to breathe beneath the crushing weight of truth. Clara watched confusion transform into horror across his face before he whispered Evelyn's name without realizing he still remembered it. Years of missing memories connected themselves like shattered glass finally fitting together. He realized he had once loved Evelyn with every part of himself. He remembered preparing a nursery. He remembered choosing Hazel's name before she had even been born. Most devastating of all, he remembered believing Evelyn had abandoned him after the accident because manipulated conversations from relatives had filled the empty spaces in his damaged memory. Those false beliefs had guided every decision afterward. No betrayal had occurred. Instead, fear, misunderstanding, and selfish interference had stolen years from all of them. Clara's heart broke without anyone needing to explain another word. She recognized genuine devastation rather than deception. Rowan had never intentionally lied. He had unknowingly built a future upon forgotten foundations. Every smile they shared had been sincere, yet every promise now carried unbearable consequences. Rather than exploding with anger, Clara quietly walked outside into the warm afternoon sunlight where tears flowed freely. She realized that sometimes life creates impossible situations where no one is truly the villain, yet everyone suffers. The following weeks tested every person involved more than any previous hardship. Rowan sought medical evaluations that confirmed sudden memory restoration after emotional recognition was medically possible, though extremely rare. He confronted relatives whose manipulation had separated him from Evelyn during his recovery. Some admitted they feared Evelyn would distract him from healing. Others confessed they wrongly believed she pursued financial security rather than genuine love. Their decisions, made under the disguise of protection, had stolen precious years from an innocent family. Evelyn faced an equally painful struggle. She had survived years convincing herself that the past belonged behind her, yet seeing Rowan remember everything reopened wounds she had carefully learned to carry. She no longer knew whether rebuilding trust was wise or simply dangerous. Hazel, too young to understand complicated histories, simply enjoyed spending afternoons getting to know the father she had imagined throughout childhood. Rowan embraced every opportunity to make up for lost time. He attended school events, learned Hazel's favorite books, helped her plant flowers in the library garden, and listened carefully whenever she shared stories about her dreams. Every bright afternoon became another chance to recover moments fate had stolen. Clara quietly stepped away from wedding plans, returning gifts and canceling reservations without seeking sympathy. Friends expected bitterness, but she refused to let heartbreak define her character. Instead, she accepted temporary work at a rehabilitation center in another town, dedicating herself to patients recovering from life-changing injuries. Through helping others reclaim independence, she slowly rebuilt her own sense of purpose. Although loneliness occasionally followed her home, she never regretted choosing compassion over resentment. She understood that genuine love sometimes meant releasing someone whose heart belonged somewhere else, even when circumstances were painfully unfair. Months passed beneath endless blue skies filled with quiet healing. Rowan worked tirelessly to rebuild trust through consistent actions rather than emotional promises. He never pressured Evelyn for forgiveness. Instead, he accepted responsibility for every lost year despite knowing memory loss had never been his choice. He celebrated Hazel's achievements, repaired the neglected family home they had once purchased together, and volunteered alongside Evelyn at community literacy programs where they had first dreamed about raising children who valued kindness above success. Slowly, walls built from grief began to crumble. Evelyn noticed that Rowan no longer chased forgiveness with desperate words. He earned it through patience, humility, and reliability. Every afternoon he arrived exactly when promised. Every commitment was honored. Every difficult conversation ended with greater honesty than the last. Trust, once shattered, returned not through dramatic declarations but through ordinary moments repeated faithfully over time. Clara's own journey unexpectedly brought new hope. One of her elderly patients often reminded her that life rarely follows the map people carefully draw in youth. Inspired by those conversations, Clara established a free wellness program for families caring for injured loved ones. Her work attracted volunteers from neighboring communities, creating friendships built upon shared compassion. She discovered fulfillment that reached far beyond the marriage she had lost. The heartbreak that once seemed unbearable gradually became the foundation for helping countless others facing impossible circumstances. A year after the courthouse encounter, the community gathered at the Botanical Gardens for a family celebration honoring volunteers who had transformed neglected public spaces into vibrant gardens filled with flowers and children's play areas. Under warm afternoon sunlight, Hazel proudly planted the final rose bush while Rowan and Evelyn stood nearby, their hands gently intertwined without fear or uncertainty. Clara attended as a guest of honor for her rehabilitation outreach program. Sometimes love asks us to sacrifice so another family can become whole. Sometimes fate uncovers painful truths not to destroy us, but to lead us toward the lives we were always meant to live. Clara found purpose beyond heartbreak. Rowan found the courage to rebuild what had been unfairly stolen. Evelyn discovered that forgiveness did not erase the past but gave the future room to breathe. Hazel grew up surrounded not by resentment but by adults who chose compassion over revenge, proving that the greatest inheritance a child can receive is not wealth or comfort, but the example of kindness in the face of pain. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this reminder stay with you wherever life leads. When people choose honesty, forgiveness, and courage over bitterness, even the deepest wounds can become the beginning of a beautiful new chapter.